Hey there. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the test format for the listening section of the IELTS test. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Prem from Datum IELTS and this is video number 3 in the series, Introduction to IELTS. In the last video, I gave you a brief introduction to the IELTS test format. I told you about the 4 sections of the test, how are they organized, how many questions you have to answer and things like that. In this video, I'm going to dive deeper into the listening test format. If you're serious about cracking the IELTS, this is a very important video. So be sure to watch it till the end, and if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Okay then, let's start. So, I told you that the listening section is the first section of the IELTS exam. It lasts for 30 minutes and has 40 questions. Now these 40 questions are divided into 4 parts, part 1 to part 4, and each part has 10 questions. In each part, you're made to listen to an audio recording and you're supposed to answer questions based on them as you listen to the audio. If you're giving the paper-based exam, you will be handed a question booklet which has questions that look like this, along with a separate answer sheet that looks like this. Before the test begins, you are given some time to fill in your personal information like name, candidate number, test center number, and date on both the question booklet and the answer sheet. You are not allowed to open the question booklet before the audio instructs you to do so. Now, once the test begins, as you listen to the audio, you are supposed to write your answers on the question booklet itself. And at the end of the listening test, you will be given 10 extra minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Now, if you're taking the computer-based test, you will be given some credentials to log into your computer station. After you log in, you need to verify your personal information displayed on the screen and wait for the test to begin. Please note, in the computer-based listening test, you will only be given 2 extra minutes at the end of the test to check your work, unlike the paper-based test, where you're given 10 extra minutes. Now, before the actual test begins, the supervisor will read out some instructions regarding how the test will be conducted. Then, they will go on to play a sample audio recording to give you a chance to check if your headphones are working correctly. If you feel your headphones are not working correctly, or you need any volume adjustments, now is the time to request those changes. Talking about headphones, all test centers will provide headphones for both the paper-based and computer-based exams. You do not need to take your own. Now at the beginning of each part and sometimes in between parts, you are given short pauses that last about 20 seconds to 30 seconds to look at the next set of questions and be prepared to answer them. The audio will say something like this.
Part 1. You will hear a woman talking to a doctor at a clinic about a medical problem. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4.
Even though 20 seconds may not seem like a long time, it is just enough to scan through the next set of questions, identify keywords, and be prepared to answer them. Remember, the audio is played only once and will not be repeated. So it's very important that you use this time effectively. Now questions from part 1 to part 4 get progressively hard, which means your part 1 questions are the easiest and part 4 questions are the most difficult. Also, the type of conversation you hear in each part is different. In part 1, you'll hear a conversation between 2 people in a social context. These are simple conversations that you hear in everyday life. For example, you may hear 2 people talk on the phone regarding a reservation. Or you may hear a conversation between a doctor and a patient. Here's an example.
Hi, come and take a seat.
Thank you.
My name's Carl Rogers and I'm one of the doctors here at the Total Health Clinic. So I understand this is your first visit to the clinic.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well I hope you'll be very happy with the service you receive here. So if it's all right with you, I'll take a few details to help me give you the best possible service.
Sure.
So can I check first of all that we have the correct personal details for you? So your full name is Julie Ann Garcia.
That's correct.
In part 2, you'll hear a monologue in a social context, which means you'll hear one person talking. For example, you may hear a speech about a public facility like a library or a mall. Here, listen to this.
You'll hear the librarian of a new town library talking to a group of people who are visiting the library.
Okay, everyone. So, here we are at the entrance to the town library. My name is Anne, and I'm the chief librarian here, and you'll usually find me at the desk just by the main entrance here.
Following so far? Okay, next. In part 3, you'll hear a conversation between up to 4 people in an academic context. These are conversations that typically happen at college or university. For example, you may hear 2 students discuss an assignment with their professor. Here, listen to this example.
So, Rosie and Martin, let's look at what you've got for your presentation on woolly mammoths. So, it's about a research project in North America.
Yes, but we thought we needed something general about woolly mammoths in our introduction to establish that they were related to our modern elephant.
Maybe we could show a video clip of a cartoon about mammoths, but that'd be a bit childish.
In part 4, you'll again hear a monologue, but this time in an academic context. For example, you may hear a university lecture or someone give a talk on an academic subject. Here, listen to this example.
Producing enough energy to meet our needs has become a serious problem. Demand is rising rapidly because of the world's increasing population and expanding industry. Burning fossil fuels like gas, coal and oil seriously damages the environment, and they'll eventually run out.
Now in these examples, you might have noticed a difference in the accents of the speakers. That is because the IELTS is an international test and you should expect to hear various accents from across the world. Now as you progress from part 1 to part 4, you may notice that the speed of the audio also increases. Which means in part 1, people tend to talk slowly and may repeat important information, but as you progress through the parts, people talk faster and without repetition. This is just one way of increasing difficulty from part 1 to part 4. Another way of increasing difficulty is by increasing the length of the recordings. So you'll notice as you progress through the parts, the recordings get longer as well, and the number of pauses you are given in between is reduced. So there is a higher chance that you may miss some questions. And finally, the difficulty level may also vary by question type. On the listening section, you may get about 10 different types of questions, and they range from fill in the blank or gap fill questions to multiple choice questions and map labeling questions. Some of these are more challenging than the others and require effective strategies to answer them correctly. For example, a lot of people struggle with multiple choice questions because they have to read lengthy question statements and option choices that are sometimes longer than the questions themselves. This is not easy to do while listening to the audio. Now, speaking of question types, another important thing to note is that each set of questions will have specific instructions that you have to follow. The instructions may mention word limits for your answer or tell you to choose specific letters like A, B, C and so on. If you don't follow these instructions, your answers will be marked wrong. We'll discuss these things in detail in future videos. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new content. So that's it for the test format for the listening section. In the next one, I'll explain the format for the reading section. See you soon.